Hey guys,
Welcome back to Faith Factor, where faith meets real life.
I'm Maddie.
And I'm Tala. And today we're continuing our testimony series, and we have our very first guest, and I'll let her introduce herself.
My name's Izza, and I'm a sophomore in college studying social work.
Yes. Okay. So, as I said, we're continuing our testimony series, and if you remember from our last video, a testimony is just kind of a personal story about what Jesus has done in your life. It's your power against the enemy and a chance for you to connect and get authentic and share your faith with others. So, Izza is going to share her testimony.
Yeah. And just adding to what Tala said, an emphasis on the authenticity part of this. Like, if you're watching this and you're listening to Izza's testimony, let us know, or even we'll drop her social media if you want to talk about it. If you have something to talk about or you just relate to her, this is a great community if you're looking for someone who could maybe give you advice, or even just someone who you might be able to relate to. And Izza's an amazing little person, so let's go.
Let's kick it off. All right.
Okay. Again, I'm Izza, in case you forgot. And so basically, my testimony starts off with I grew up in a Christian household, but my parents made it very clear that faith isn't something that can be passed down from parents. That's something I'm extremely grateful for. So I gave my life to Christ at a very young age. Before I was 9 years old, I'm not exactly sure how old I was. And I feel like I've heard this from a lot of people who gave their life to Christ at a young age. It's kind of the same, oh, I feel like my testimony is so boring. I feel like there's nothing to it, because there's a lot of awesome testimonies out there. But recently, through coming to college and going to Hope Church, from other people sharing what they got out of my story, I've realized, obviously how great God is, because the fact that I'm saved is a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah.
But so basically, when I was really young, my parents explained a lot about Christianity because they wanted me to be Christian, rightfully so. And they were very open to questions to any of my siblings. I'm the youngest of 5 kids. So and all of us are Christian, which is also a miracle.
Yeah, that is.
It's crazy.
Crazy.
There's a few strays there for a little while, but they they came back.
Yeah, that's good.
God.
Yeah.
Very. But so they were open to questions, and they would have us read books. Like The Case for Christ is a really cool one I read when I was a child, which is just about all the evidence. So there's all of that foundational stuff, but there's also the relational stuff, which is a big part of my testimony. So I'd say the most of my testimony is just about the consistency of God through the inconsistencies of life.
That's good. No, that's a really good chat. Say it again for us so we can quote you.
Yeah. Okay.
She already has a mic, guys.
I do. Yeah. Okay. So most of my testimony is about the consistency of God through the inconsistencies of life.
That is so good.
Thank you. Also, something that I really love about your testimony is, exactly that. Because even though you were saved at a young age, it's just so beautiful to see that even though you've gone through all those things, you still turned to God, and He's done so many good things in your life.
Yeah. And I think it's also a great example of like some people might think giving your life to Christ is just an automatic your life's so amazing and everything goes right. But I think that's a great example of you still have been through hard things, and it's even though you're struggling, you're able to see the light that God has given you, and I think that's just really beautiful.
Oh yeah, I was just talking about this with some girls earlier. It's God has given me so much peace in my life, supernatural peace through everything. But God equips us to go through the storm and not avoid it.
Yeah.
Which I'm pretty sure they said that at church last week, but I don't know. But I was that kind of, I related to that a lot. Yeah. And it's also, there was the one story of the man-made biome where it's trees would grow really fast in it, but when they got so tall, they couldn't withstand their own weight. They were so weak. And they found that's because they didn't have any wind. And so the pressure made the trees stronger. So it's kind of again, giving your life to Christ, amazing, obviously. But He gives us tools to go through the world, because the world is still obviously full of sin and people are tempted and bad things happen, and that's just inevitable.
Yeah.
So just through my relationship with God, I've seen like how he has equipped me to go through all of these things.
Yeah.
So good.
I think that's also like really like interesting to connect it to like tests like that God will give you in your life. It's like God is giving you this test to like say if you didn't make it through something before, and it's like for me this has happened a lot, and then it's like it happens again. And I mean, if you want to like go deeper into anything that you're like talking about, we'd love to hear like more details on the stories. But
I gotta start, like, one of my earliest memories of like God's apparent comfort for me was my grandpa died of cancer when I was really little, like kindergarten, first grade, and I didn't really understand it at the time, but I know my grandpa died from cancer. And then thankfully I had family around and I was comforted the whole time. But 4 months later, my dad, which it was my paternal grandfather, my dad was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, again, just 4 months after the funeral of my grandfather. And so definitely stage 4 is like the worst that you can get. And so that was a time of like, obviously it could have been a time of like great distress and like very much like hard times because we were homeschooled at the time. And so my mom was like, she wanted to be with my father, her husband, while he was going through all these like surgeries and chemo. So she would send us to public school, and obviously that's also a big change because I went from like my entire family in the house to like, oh, I have to go, and my mom's and my parents are like in a different state, like getting medical help. But like through all of that, like the fact that we had family members who could come watch for me and my siblings, and the fact that my dad survived from when he had cancer that time is amazing. Like that was like truly a beautiful thing that obviously I'm very grateful for. And like after that, again, that was a pretty like wavy moment in my life. But like again, I was really young, but like the comfort that God provided from the family that he had me in was great. And after that, I would say I've moved around like 12 times, which in 3 different states. So that's another big part of like God, how God has provided. Because with me moving that many times, I never really had like a church community, like a stable one. I would have friends, you know, I'd see people, but we never really stuck anywhere. And like through all of that, a lot of stuff was going on. I was mentioning my siblings earlier. Again, I'm the youngest of 5. My oldest sibling is a sister. And I would say one of the most impactful moments in my life is like when she had quite the rebellious phase where she would like go back and forth from living with us, and she even like accused our family members of stuff, and like the law was involved. It was like really hardcore. And like obviously she was my only sister, and like that relationship got really really rocky. And so sometimes I would see her and the grace of my parents through all of that was also amazing, because even if she like didn't like my parents at the time, they would still drop me off to like see her so I could like spend time with her. But so that relationship, there was a lot of like struggles with like lying, and then a lot of stuff like that. And then again, through the midst of all of this, she eventually like came back to our family, and we moved to Arizona, which is the 3rd state I lived in. And so we came here to work at a children's home. My parents did. We lived on campus. And again, the relationships were rocky, and just again, all of the moving again. And then the children's home was a great experience, and I loved it. And it kind of helped me decide to go into social work. This is why I'm doing that. But we had to leave there in like 2 days. We didn't have a house or anything. It was kind of sudden. It was after a few years of working there. So it was another like, oh, we have to find a home to live in, and that sort of thing again. Because like, again, we've moved a lot. And thankfully, we found a house that allowed pets, because we have pets. And it's also very hard to find places that have pets and that can fit all of the people. Because again, it was I mean, my sister had moved out, and so had my brother had gotten married and stuff. But again, then that was another like drastic change. And like through all of this, my relationship with God, I feel, remained pretty steady. And that's something I'm so grateful for, because again, moving so many times, my relationship with my sister was really that. But a big part of my testimony, I would say, started my senior year of college. Or not college, goodness.
I was like, oh, this is
we fast forwarded.
Hasn't happened yet.
You missed something.
My senior year of high school, where my brother started going to college here where we go, and he started going to Hope Church. And so when he would come back to visit us, he would tell us about it. And so my family started going to Hope Church. And it was really one of the first times, it's kind of really sad actually, where like the first time where we had gone to a church service and immediately people came and like talked to us. And it's kind of like, it's an amazing thing that happened, and something I'm eternally grateful for, and I think is another like proof of God in my life, because he knew we were gonna need that church family. So again, my senior year of high school, started going to Hope and got connected to this great community, and I started living with girls who went to this church. And again, when I first moved in with them, I kind of like would tell them, I'm like, hey, I'm not used to this many like females. Like I was like, I have really like hard relationship, like trusting girls. I found so much more comfort in like my brothers or like male friends and stuff and such. And so they were obviously so open about that, and like would challenge me on that and be like, hey, open up. Like, we want to be your sisters and be there for you. I would say that was perfect, because the summer before freshman year of college, I found out my mom had breast cancer. I found out while I was doing ministry, while I was like knocking on doors. And thankfully our site pastor was there, and then his wife came to pick me up. And it was like, obviously that relationship, like trauma bonds, you know.
Sometimes they're there.
So I was like, that community he provided, and for us during that time. So my mom, again, we found out in June, and her last surgery was December. So it was the entire like last half of the year that I had this community around that. Prior to my senior year of high school, I did not have any community or friendships like that, nor would I have ever been comfortable enough with other people to share that. I'd always like gone to God, and I still do, but like God wants us to be in community. And so it's something like I've seen him provide in my life and my family's life, like through all of that. And with my mom's last surgery being in December, she's good. Hi, Mom.
Congratulations.
Yes. And so again, there was like all of that like not turmoil, but like all of that craziness my first semester of college. And then 2 months after my mom's last surgery, so in February, we found out my dad had cancer again. It was a completely different kind. It had nothing to do with the first kind, and it was very sudden, you know. But it was like, it was just a different type of cancer. It wasn't like I don't know what's called, relapse. I don't remember what it's called. But he was like in the hospital. He was, the first day they went to like check him into the hospital, he never came home after that. It was a very like sudden, like my mom texted the family group chat like, hey, we're gonna take your dad to the hospital. He like is feeling really weak. And Zach, my brother, who goes to college, we had been noticing like how rapidly my father had been aging, but we just thought, you know, parents are getting older. But so I went to the hospital, found out it was cancer, and it was 2 months of a lot of like, what is happening? Because there were so many things going against his body, and like there was like one medication would affect this part, but then it would allow the other part to like grow. And then like if you treated one, the other one would grow. And it was horrible. It was like a really hard thing to go through. But the people I had around me was absolutely amazing, because like God had been there for like the first time my dad had cancer. We didn't think he was supposed to survive. We got an extra like 13 years with him that we were like so grateful for. And it was my second semester. It was like the entire time. And so my brother and I would drive back and forth between college and going to see our father at the hospital and see family and such. And it was like, I remember being with my roommates who I would like all went to church with, and they'd be like, I'd be like, oh, I have to go. Like the night of, Zach would text me, Dad's not doing well, we're gonna drive down. They would be like, can we pray in a circle before Zach picks you up? And it was like, that was awesome because like I had other friends, of course, like throughout high school and everything, but like again, none with like the connection of like having the same faith and believing in the
Yeah.
same God.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just felt the difference, and it was like it truly affected me in like a beautiful way, kind of like God
Yeah.
provided these people for me at the perfect time.
Yeah.
Because first with my mom getting cancer and then my dad having cancer, and he died after 2 months in the hospital. And like just what our church provided, they like provided the funeral and they like did all of this stuff. And again, the comfort God has provided my entire life, but the community has like changed my life. The
Yeah.
community that like he has given me and allowed me to have, I will forever be grateful for,
Yeah.
because like it's like a beautiful thing. And like I know like there was a lot of struggle with like, oh, all of these people were praying for your father and he still died. Like I had gotten some questions about that, but I'm like, honestly, the time we got with him is amazing. People die of cancer. People die of so many things. We had an extra 13 years with him, and like I know where he's going,
Yeah.
which is also an amazing comfort that I know not everybody has.
Mm-hmm.
And like there was one day, my father, again, he was not doing well the entire time he was in the hospital, but there was one day where all of his levels for all the different factors, I don't know them, was like white blood cell count was like up enough where he could go outside. And like he was normally like, we weren't allowed to bring flowers into his room because that could kill him, you know. Like that was a lot of the hospital. We had to wear masks, a lot of like cleaning, because he was just such in a fragile state. I have, so my sister, we hadn't been talking to her for a very long time, or she hadn't been talking to us, is again hard. And like I hadn't met some of her kids and stuff, but when she heard my dad was in the hospital, she came, and like I feel like I like lost my dad, but I also gained a relationship with my sister again. Like it's still obviously we're working on it because so many years of like not talking to each other and like strained relationship. But like the fact that she's Christian is amazing because like all the different things that happened. So like her coming back through my dad's sickness, I view as a blessing.
Yeah.
And then again, back to the story of the day of like my dad's, the day he can go outside. This was just, it happened once. It was just that one day. I have a brother who lives in Florida, and it's very expensive to like fly out here, but obviously he like flew out a few times when it was like really bad. So this was one of the few times that he was here at the hospital, because again, it was only 2 months. So my brother, his wife, my sister, her husband were there, and like all of us kids were there, my mom, and we were able to go outside, and it felt like such a blessing because the hospital had a garden. So my dad was in a wheelchair, and we were able to just like talk and everything. And it was like that, it feels like without God, like that shouldn't have happened, because like every other day the stats were so low. He was like so fragile.
Like it was a gift.
Yeah. And it's definitely like I appreciate it a lot. And like that's another thing with like, if anyone who's listening who like grew up Christian and gave their life to Christ at a young age because like their family was Christian, that in itself is a blessing and like shows of like God's love for us, because like my parents are Christian, my grandparents were Christian, but their parents weren't. It's like when my grandparents, when they decided to be Christians, they changed the lives of their children forever.
Yeah.
Like because of the decision for them to come to Christ, I was allowed this peace from a young age.
Yeah.
And I know not a lot of people get that. And so that's one thing about like learning about my testimony. I was like, oh, this is like a gift. And I'm like, other people, like I've talked to my roommate and she came to Christ when she was in college, and she was like, I'm excited to raise my kids in faith because
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
she wants it to be kind of like how she's heard from my story, not like obviously everything from my story, but like
yeah, just like the consistency of God and His love for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Having that
feel
at a
like
young age.
also like what you said about your parents teaching that it's like not a family thing, it's like a personal thing that you can grow with God or like grow a
Yeah.
relationship with. Like I think that's really beautiful, and I think that's definitely something I want to like raise my family in, is like
Yeah.
just like you.
But so basically that's the gist. It's just like
Yeah.
again how God has been there, and He's provided everything at like the perfect moments. And it's like it's up to us to use what God gives us.
Yeah.
And so like I could have chosen not to open up to my roommates, but
Yeah.
like the choices we make do truly matter. And so it's like just awesome that I was even able to have these people to talk to, and that like all that I feel like definitely changed my life. It changed my family's life. And like before, like when I was in high school going to Hope Church, like there were things that like my parents would admit to, like a service would talk about this and they're like, oh, we didn't know that. And so it's like the humility of also that they had of like, oh, we were wrong in this. And like also growing up with that, like you're not going to be a perfect Christian because that doesn't exist.
Come on now.
But it's kind of like no matter how old you are, you can learn things. Things can change. You can be like, oh, I didn't realize this before. You can learn new things. And it's like, I saw that through my parents.
Yeah.
And so it was really a blessing. Like it's a whole bunch of blessings. So,
Yeah. Document.
That's really beautiful. And I feel like for me, what was really standing out like the whole time is like in your whole testimony, it's like the importance of community, and then also like God will provide. Like when it comes to like times of stress, what you're saying about like having to move out so quick, it's like God provided, and it's like you're thankful like you're here today. And then also like even just like the little things in God's plan, it's like you don't know what's happening in the moment, but then what you're saying about like your sister, like growing a relationship with her through your father's sickness, like that obviously you probably didn't see that part of it then, but it's like maybe that's what God's plan was, like. And then also like the whole flower thing, like I think it's just so beautiful. It's like we don't know what God's plan is, but it's like it's so much bigger than what we know, you know. Your whole it was all beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you have anything to say?
I have a question actually.
Yeah.
So you were talking about like obviously like you moved around a lot when you were growing up. Kind of a two-sided question. One, like growing up Christian, I'm assuming you had friends who like weren't Christian growing up, but like were there any like differences in that?
I would say I mostly, the longest I lived somewhere was 9 years. And then like we moved away, and then we kind of came back to the town next over, so I knew a lot of the same people. But I lived in like small town Iowa, so there was a bunch of different churches, like different denominations. There's like 16 churches and like 100 people.
Yeah.
Not that little amount of people, but like not a lot of people.
At Flagstaff.
But so like from an early age, I didn't know that not everyone was Christian. So like that was something obviously I learned as I moved around, but I just at first I feel like it came through different denominations, and like asking my parents questions about that, because I'm like, what does it mean to be Reformed? What does it mean to be like, I grew up in a church, not grew up, but like the church I went to the longest before moving to Arizona was Evangelical Free. And there's like all these different names for stuff.
Yeah.
And like in the end, I feel like I found that like believe in the Bible.
It's a living, active word of God.
Yes.
You get something out of it every time you read it.
Exactly. So it's like kind of like how they shared about that, like different denominations. So like all of this was kind of just like human made rules. So I was just kind of like, oh, like understanding all of that and being like, oh, the Bible. And obviously you should go to church, community.
Yeah, come on.
I was just talking about that. Community is really
Community is
good.
important. We need that.
But I feel like I didn't really run into other people of like different faiths until coming to Arizona.
Okay.
And that was like or people with even like wildly different backgrounds. I was 13 when I moved to Arizona to the children's home. And again, it was
Just
like,
if you're young, it's not as noticeable.
Yeah.
too.
that's true. Yeah. But, oh, I just remembered something.
Do
I-
share.
Please share.
So I did grow up, even though if everyone around me was like Christian, I had like one aunt, which again, very grateful it's like only one. It's still sad, but like she wasn't Christian.
Yeah.
And so like I would ask my parents questions about that. And there was like a lot of grief with that too, because
Mhm.
it's like when you're young, you're like, if she's dying, she's going to
She's
hell.
not going to hell.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, that is true. But it's also like learning that it's everyone's choice.
Yeah, because
Is
we
a
have to
big-
make. We talked about that at service. Like you have to make the choice to surrender.
Yeah.
Because while
Yeah.
God's love is unconditional, like we gotta actually repent and believe,
Yeah.
and that's the conditional part.
So it's kind of like that learning of like, if you were sad about everyone who's not going to be in heaven, you're going to be really, really sad.
yeah,
And so it's kind of like learning that God gave us free will, and that's a gift to have free will. And it's like
Yeah.
what we do with it and our choices.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's also a foundation that like helped me when I met other people, when I like came to Arizona that were like from all these different backgrounds. But kind of I was homeschooled up until my freshman year of high school,
yeah,
where I started going to a public school in Arizona. And that's when the high school I went to, there was not a lot of Christians there. There were not that I
Yeah.
knew of.
yeah. That's a crazy area. Not gonna lie.
But-
Don't go to that high school. Some people there are good, but
It's
don't
It's
send your kids
crazy.
there.
I had a great time. And what I will say, again, I didn't really have Christian friends there.
Yeah,
But what I was able to do with that, I've heard this multiple times that I was the first nice Christian a lot of people met.
that is so cute. Yes.
Yeah. Going off of that, and I'm like, that's kind of sad, honestly.
Yeah.
Which is like, that's amazing. Like, you are a very nice Christian. Like,
Yay.
it's we love you. And it's like, that's also, it kind of like brings up the point. It's like, it's a little bit sad how people like perceive it, or like the people they know,
Yeah.
it comes off wrong. So that's kind of like why they might stray away from it, is because they think people are like genuinely like mean or like just judgmental. And it's like, there needs to be more like you as a very good. And I was gonna say something, but I actually forgot.
Oh,
I hope you could. I
Oh,
hope it comes back.
okay. Going back to like the whole like high school thing, and not a lot of Christians there. Just to like preface, like we're not saying you can't be friends with non-Christians, which the Bible says it's very important to like
Yeah.
love everyone.
love everyone.
Yeah.
So, I love those friends I made in high
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, that's so true though. Like,
Yeah.
it's important to have a Christian community, or like a community in which you can grow your faith, but also like being friends with other people, and like maybe sharing with them like what happened to you, or like how God changed your life, which I'm sure you did. Like,
Yeah.
so your testimony is so beautiful. Like, I hope that people watching this, they're gonna love it. So yeah.
Yes. Also, on that note, I would like to say, if you don't ever become friends with non-Christians, who are you preaching the gospel to? That's why it's so important to like love
Yeah.
everyone, because like
Yeah.
you could plant that seed and then
Yeah.
God can make
Yeah.
it grow.
Yeah. Jesus didn't come to make good people great. He made
Make dead people alive.
Alive.
Spiritually dead. Spiritually dead.
Spiritually, no zombies.
I mean, blasphemy.
Also, going back to like them saying you were the nicest Christian they've met, maybe, I don't know if you know where they're at now, but maybe you
Oh my
were the one
gosh.
that might have changed their story.
Yeah.
And maybe you planted that seed. So that's a beautiful thing. And I just wanted to say that.
Do you have anything else to say?
I feel like I did, but I can't remember.
Okay, because I have another question.
Okay, so
I was just making sure you finish your
Or
thought.
maybe. Hold on.
Okay,
So, like-
I'm holding.
Oh, that's good. It was something.
in the beginning of your story, when you said my oldest sibling is a sister, I thought you meant a nun. And I was like, that's my dream.
She's not a nun.
Okay, I got that after a while. If you saw me like smirking a little bit, that's why I was like, I didn't know this.
No, I'm sorry. I have.
She is a female sibling.
She's a female sibling. I have 3 brothers.
Okay. What did you have to say, Isa?
I was just gonna. Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. All right.
Can you guys lock in?
Having a hoot.
I know you're not telling me that.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna continue with high school. And so, like, how there weren't a lot of Christians in high school that, like, I knew of again.
Yeah.
Like, I joined choir, and I would think that was amazing. It was like the best time I had in high school. It was really cool. And like with that, I was allowed, like, when I joined choir my freshman year, and like I was so incredibly shy. Like, this is kind of sad, but like I would have like met people before and talked to them, and if they passed me in the hallway, they're like, "Oh, hi, Isa," I would be genuinely surprised they remembered who I was. Like, that's kind of how I went into.
You're very memorable. I would just like to say that.
But like genuinely, that was my state of mind going into like relationships with like other people. I was like, oh my gosh, they remember me, even if I've had a full conversation with them before. But like,
Wait, why do you think that is? Like, why do you think you felt that way?
like the shyness. Or...
Just that like people wouldn't remember you.
I feel like it had to do with like
Moving.
I feel like it had to do with like the relationships with like my sister, because I felt a lot of like rejection from that, and I was like, a very hard time. I was like, oh, my sister doesn't find me like worth staying for. Like, why would people?
Yeah, like,
I'm not related
if
to.
your own family don't care, then it's
Yeah.
like, why would someone else care?
Yeah. So it was kind of like that. Didn't stay for very long, thankfully.
That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Because literally, so we have like an awards banquet in choir where they like hand out things. My freshman year, I was given unsung hero, which means just really quiet, but like they like were involved, but
no
like
participation trophies.
No, it was like someone who's really quiet, but they like did stuff. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah,
but
the unsung hero.
Yeah,
that's you, bro.
But my second year, I was given social butterfly.
Really?
That's so beautiful.
I know. That changed. So that was like my freshman year to my sophomore year to my junior year. I was the president of my choir.
Wow.
And so I was like, obviously so grateful for like the ways I was able to like be there for like the girls in my choir. But like, in like, oh my goodness. Sorry, I was like saying a lot.
Oh, that's good.
It's
really good.
That's
why we're here.
We want to hear you.
But my senior year, I wasn't the president because you could only be it for 1 year. But like my friend, 4 years.
Yeah, I was like, if the president of the country can do it for
Then
4
the
years,
president
times two,
of the
8
high
years,
school choir should
can
be
do it
8
for all
years.
4. Come on now. Well, let's hope we're not in high school for 8 years.
Can we let her talk? I'm joking. I'm joking.
But like my senior year, I was able to like help the girl like who was younger than me who became president, and like able to be like, I hate saying this like about myself, like, you know, when you like say all this stuff about yourself, but I was very much like, you know, one of those friends that people call you mom. Like I was
You're the mom friend.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So beautiful.
Yeah. I got as my like one of my senior like gifts I got from one of my friends. Hi.
She's forwarding this to you guys.
She got me an apron that in pink glitter said choir mom.
Aw,
and I
that's
have
cute.
it still, and I was like,
I thought you were reaching. I
couldn't
see your hand. I couldn't see your hand, and I thought you were reaching in a bag. You're gonna pull it out. Like,
girl, I did not bring a bag with me. I was like, I have this with me at all times.
Yeah.
Choir mom.
But like going back to like the whole like change of like your personality in those few years, what would you say like made you more outgoing, or like was it something that happened like with your like comfortable Miss
Comfortability. Comfortability.
I feel like, I mean, the change from being homeschooled to public school is just crazy for anyone.
Oh,
you just
yeah.
gotta
So that was
sink
kind
or
of,
swim.
yeah. If you guys, I'm gonna name drop. If you guys know Johnny, he goes to our church up here. He was the first person I saw in high school who I knew.
You guys knew
Really?
each other in high school?
Yeah.
What?
I knew him the moment I moved to Arizona.
What?
His parents worked at the children's home.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
At Johnny. If you,
Johnny.
Johnny, if you're watching this video, make sure to drop roller skate in the comments.
But again, the change from being homeschooled to public school is crazy for anyone who does it. But I feel like the comfortability, back to God, comes from like the foundation I had, because again, being around so many non-Christians, it probably could have been very easy to like fall into other stuff, because like I knew a lot of people who were doing a lot of other stuff. But the fact that I was able to confidently say my beliefs was like actually crazy. So like the confidence to be able to share in high school that I was Christian and like posting like Christian things, I got hate DMs
Yeah.
from people in high school. It was kind of crazy that were there. And it's just like going into high school with the foundation of Christianity that I grew up with is like something I hope for like all of my friends, like their kids, because like my parents didn't like have to doubt like, oh, is she doing all of this stuff? There's always like, I could have chosen to, but I didn't. Okay. I kind of was like,
Drop a roller skate in the comments if you made it this far. What size shoe do you wear?
10.
So I can't help you. I'm so
No,
sorry.
Yeah. I walked into your room and I was like, oh, those children.
Okay, they are.
What?
Size 4. Nike, please sponsor us. Insults in you.
Yeah.
Don't even fret.
Yeah.
My question was also, this was a question I had earlier, and then I forgot and asked a different question.
Okay.
But because you're moving around a lot, and I know you like talked about like coming here like to Arizona and like being connected with Hope Church movement.
Yeah.
Yeah, Hope Church movement.
Hope
But like, and living with all those girls, like you have a more like authentic connection. I know, like in service, like we've talked about, like no one like knows you, loves you, challenge you, like that's what you want. So in that, since you were moving around a lot, like did you have those relationships like with people like your age, like knew you, loved you, and challenged you, or was it kind of just like you, God, and your family going at it?
I feel like that is accurate.
Okay, no, that's fair.
Like
Against the world.
against the world. Yeah, I didn't like. I had not great friends when I was like really little. I was kind of a pushover a little bit. I gained my confidence later,
Clip
guys.
that.
But I was.
Hey.
Clip that.
I
But-
will be zooming on your face. Zooming in on your face. Hopefully I don't leave a white spot mark.
But like, I had other friendships, but I feel like what I was seeking from them wasn't good, or like kind of unrealistic for like where we were. Because like
Yeah.
I would be like the absence of my sister. Like I had one friend, I was like, oh, I'm like all in for her. Like I love her so much. She's my best
Yeah.
friend. And like I moved to Arizona, and like I realized that we didn't view our friendship the same way. So it was kind of like, that also was absolutely like heartbreaking for a little bit, because
Yeah.
it was like my only friend that I had for like years. But it was kind of like, probably wasn't the most healthy thing, but I was like, I need the friendship to be like this, or like I can't have the friendship.
Yeah.
Because it was, I was a teenage, I was, you know, a 13-year-old, and maybe I was 14 when we stopped.
It's like the same thing.
talking. Yeah. But like, oh my gosh, what were you saying? So yeah, not really. And like with our friendship, I was kind of the more confident one as well.
As you should.
And like, obviously, actually, her family is not another thing God provided, because there was one point where we didn't have a house, and so they allowed us to live with them, my friend's family. So like, and then this past summer, the mom of that family came to visit my mom because,
Mm.
you know, my dad had died and all of that other jazz. So, like, that's another thing where God provided that friendship with
Yeah.
us because my parents, we didn't have a house. So we lived with them for a few months.
So
So
beautiful.
it was really cool. And so I still love my friend, obviously, but like, I was kind of like leaning.
You just took a really deep breath. I was making sure you're okay.
So, like, most of my friendships, I didn't get friendships like this until college or like,
Okay. So what is like the biggest difference then? Like,
between the friendships.
yeah. So like if there was like one thing you could go back and change, not like change, but like something you take into every friendship. Because like for me, it would definitely be like not like the getting authentic part, but like yeah, trusting that like I think I was sharing this with Maddie and the girls that were in the car with us. But it was like, dang, like if you can trust God so much, like you can also trust the people that He places in your lives to open up to them. So that's something that like I've been trying to work on and take into my
No.
friendships.
Yeah, that's really good because definitely struggle and still very much struggle with like believing like the people God has put in my life, even though literally they've been there for me in horrible moments of my life.
Yeah.
They have been there for me, but it's like definitely like a lie that the devil's told me
Yeah.
and continues to tell me. Like, I don't trust my brain after 9 p.m.
Oh,
I'm kidding. That used to be my saying, but
I'm a little bit like I'm like in like third dimensional.
you need to lock
bring it
in.
back. But with my friendships, it's kind of like I think again, you can be friends with people who aren't of
Yeah.
the same faith. I know I definitely have friends who aren't the same faith,
Yeah.
but like those close friendships, like those who you open yourself, like your story up to, having them kind of have the same values, because
Yeah.
what they were able to like tell me to like help me go through it was biblical and
Yeah.
That's good.
accurate, and it like worked.
Biblical
you know?
lens got you good.
Like before, I'd have friends who like would provide like comfort in the best way they can, but there's like
There's no comfort like the comfort of God.
Yeah.
Like, that's just different.
and also like
I'm sorry. Also, going back to like what you're saying, like biblical advice, I think that's also another really important part of having like a faith-based community because the people that will give you biblical advice, like sometimes obviously, like say if I'm giving advice to someone, I probably don't know what I'm talking about, but
As we're making this podcast,
No.
trying to help people.
no. But no, so if so so I'm just saying like if you're
that was like a car start.
if you're getting advice from someone, there's a chance they haven't had why'd you pull that up? She just pulled up the Song of Solomon. That's not funny.
Song of Solomon? That's so good.
What do you mean? No, it's not. I'm just saying, like, if you're getting advice from someone, like, there's a chance that and a very large chance they haven't lived exactly through what you've lived through. But when you're getting biblical, do you have to? Yeah. But when you're getting biblical advice from someone, you can trust that that advice is from a higher power, not from the person. Oh, I thought you were looking at her to laugh. That's what she's always doing.
It's good. What you're saying is so good.
Song of Solomon. Let's read.
Oh.
No.
The importance of having like a faith-based community and like a church community or just people that can help you strengthen your like relationship with God is that they will give you biblical advice, and when you're going through a hard time, like there's a very large chance that they don't know exactly how to help you like in your life or like what you can do, but what they can tell you is like their experience with God's word, because God knows what you're going through and God knew that was going to happen, and so his word will help you. And I think that's the closest that we can ever get to helping others, is letting them know what God says. So
Yeah.
Come on, that's good.
I was gonna say another part of kind of like the difference in relationships is the challenge part. And like coming to Hope, I love this church. a whole lot.
At Hope Church Movement.
But like kind of what they challenge you to do, like share your testimony with others
Yeah.
and
Come on.
meet people on campus or like ask your friends what they believe. Like I remember the first, we call them gospel appointments, but it's kind of like just talking about the gospel story. I did it with a friend from high school. She was one of the friends who would like call me mom and stuff. She was younger than me. I went through it with her, and she told me she didn't know who Jesus was.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like hit me because I could have told her while I was in high school.
Yeah.
Like, I just, like, I kind of saw like what I didn't do in high school and how I could change
change
that
it
in
now.
college, because I was like, even though if I was the first nice Christian that they met, they didn't know, some of them didn't know what that meant or what
Yeah.
Christianity was.
I think like the statistic was like 96% of college students have no idea what the gospel story is.
So that, like, obviously growing up in a Christian household, I was like, how do you not know who Jesus is? So that's another thing of like meeting people. I was like, something all of high school I was so like kind of blind to, because like I knew they weren't
Yeah.
Christian, but I didn't know to the extent of like different understandings. And so like the friendships and the guidance that I've gotten here, like not even just the friendships, but the mentors that have been put in my life, who I've been able to share things with, that I know even like a year and a half ago I would not have been comfortable sharing with
Yeah.
anyone. I'm like able to now.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm still working. There's like still times where I'm like, I don't want to go out today. I don't want to do this. But I'm like, what would be a better use of my time than
Bed rot or campus outreach?
And it's like,
She thought about it.
it's like what's God's will for you, you know? And like, hold on, I had something really good.
you can get it. You got it.
Oh,
She threw it at you.
Oh.
That works.
Yeah, just like going back to like the whole community aspect of it, and like finding a community that challenges you, like Izzo was saying. Like, I think it is definitely hard to share your testimony, and that was very kind of you for coming on here and sharing too. I mean, I know we don't have a lot of viewers, but there are
14 subscribers.
there are in fact there's
14.
there's in fact someone watching this, and it's probably one of us three. But but okay. Anywho, but
Your mom's gonna watch.
oh,
Yeah. Mom.
Come on now.
what's her name again? Oh,
Charlotte.
Oh, should we not name drop? Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
Let me go back to what.
Yeah.
Oh, let's go, Charlotte Cruz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for watching, and thank you for following us.
Thanks, Mom.
Okay, no, but actually what I was saying is like the importance of finding like the community, like you were saying, that really challenges you, because I feel like there's a difference of like how you're living versus like definitely like going back to what Tyler said in our last episode. Like, we think it's more than just like what you do on Sunday, like going out and sharing the word of God. And like I think the fact that they challenged you to like be able to share your story, and then it really helped you realize like, wow, I could have shared it with someone before. And it's like, that's happened to me so many times, and I still struggle to do that with people.
Yeah.
Especially family, like, and that's my biggest fear, honestly, is like getting to the end and being like, wow, I'd never told them about this.
Yeah.
Would you guys say you have that fear too, or like?
I mean, yeah. There's it reminds me of another thing. So, so like, how much do you have to like hate someone to not share the gospel?
At Cliff.
And then the thing is, like, hate is such a strong word, and people are like, oh, I don't hate anybody. But hate is the absence of love.
Yeah, come on.
And loving is sharing how to have eternal life.
That's so
like,
good.
So many people are scared, like, oh, I don't want to force it. And it's like, not forcing if you love them, and also
between them and eternity.
yeah. And it's also the fact of they still get to choose. You can
Yeah.
share, or you can offer to share, and they say no, and you're like,
You tried.
You tried,
like,
and you can still,
even. Oh, sorry.
oh, I was gonna say, you can still represent God to them.
Yeah.
There's like this song. It's like, dang, like if I'm the closest thing to a Bible to read, like let the words to read be what you wrote. I love that, because I think about it all the time now, because I'm like, dang, like similar with my family is like not with it, but I'm like, dang, like I can at least like show them
Yeah.
But that's why
Yeah.
it's important to not just like read the Bible for knowledge. Like you're supposed to imitate
Mhm.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And
Yeah.
share it.
That's what I mean. Cool.
And like going out and like sharing it, or even like being rejected, like you said, like you can ask if they want to hear it, and if they don't, like there's a possibility you planted that seed. And like Tala always says, like you can plant the seed, but only God can like let it grow, you know. So
Mm.
Yeah. Similarly, on this topic, sorry. On this topic, something I want to share with you actually, which is like kind of relatable to like, dang, like how much you have to hate a person, like to not share it,
Yeah.
was also like your own peace with it, because like it shouldn't come down to like just being you. Like it's not you who's going to be the one who saves them, like it's
Yeah.
Jesus who saves them.
Yeah.
So it's kind of what we talked about like our spring training, but like I was sharing this with Maddie because they were like, dang, like Jesus only saves those who like are dead in the water and have completely surrendered.
Mm, yeah.
So it's like you can tell them, like you can preach the gospel to them all you want, but like if they're still trying to save themselves, like
yeah.
that's not on you, and Jesus is the only one who can change their heart.
Yeah.
that reminded me of what they said in the sermon today, that we fell and we can't get up, but Jesus fell and Jesus got up, and that's why we all need him. I don't know if I need to quote them, because I mean that is a quote, but
Pastor B.
Pastor B.
Please
at
follow
Hope
me
Church
back
Movement.
on our podcast.
At Hope Church Movement.
At
We love
Faith
you.
Factor Podcast.
At Faith Factor. But yeah, that's all I have. Which we're like, not at all, sweetie.
I feel bad.
No,
Pride is a sin, but sharing
Guys.
your testimony is not.
I'm just
No, I know.
let me tell you, like you shared that so well.
Thank
in
you.
absolutely every aspect of it, going down to like the whole idea of like all the things, like literally everything of just like what God has done in your life and how he's provided for you. I really hope, like, and I think that someone watching this, if like say we get it like another viewer other than us three, I think
Either way.
no, I think
Doesn't
it's going to touch someone's heart. And I think like the way you just described it so well, and like your love for God and like God's love for your family, it really just shows.
What made me
Jesus
feel
love.
better is like I struggle.
Yeah.
I also think you did a really good job.
Don't put that on her, Nosh.
It is good. But yeah, kind of like adding adding on what Maddie said, like yeah, obviously like you surrender your life to Christ at a young age, and like you said, like you've been so blessed,
Mhm.
but it's also like yes, like you still struggle, as you said, like you still sin, like we all do, but it's like God is so good that
Yeah.
if as long as we repent, turn away from sin, self, and life lived on your own terms, like we're chilling
Yeah.
in eternity, hopefully.
Jesus Christ.
Amen.
But yeah, what I'm trying to say is I struggle. You struggle, I struggle. I relate to me.
Relate to me now.
No, wait, don't struggle to
No, that's good.
I'm kidding.
Very real struggle.
That's really good.
Yeah. Oh wait, I want to say something.
Okay.
Imagine if all of this wasn't recording.
Oh my gosh! Please don't say that.
I'm kidding.
Please don't
I'm
say
kidding.
it. So
What I was gonna say is my brain got like fuzzy towards the end of it, so I feel like
Yeah.
I like was rambling
No,
I
we got a little bit off
about
track. I think we hit some good
a lot
topics.
of stuff.
we're gonna have to clip some of this, but it's fine.
I feel like I might come out sounding crazy, but that's okay.
All is well in the house of the Lord.
Tala, edit well.
No, please.
So
Okay.
let's walk by faith, not by sight.
Hey guys, we
So
probably
can
just
you
cut that
please-
last clip, but yeah, we just we just want to say thanks for watching, and we're really glad we got to have Izza on this episode because we think her testimony is very powerful, and we hope some of you can relate to it, because we know that we definitely saw how God was working in her life, and it was really helpful to see how God provides and the importance of community. And yeah, if you're like looking for a sign to really find a community, this is your sign, because it really helps.
That it do. Maybe.
Okay. Sorry, are we ready?
Yeah.
Stop looking like that. Okay. Yeah, just to like add on to what Maddie said, not really add on, but just continue. We're so glad you came on because like, yeah, your testimony is so powerful, and I think a lot of people will relate to it. And even if they didn't grow up with the same background, like you said so many good points just about like living a Christian lifestyle in general that are just, I know I got convicted. I don't know. I don't know what to say. But I was like, I can do better there. But yeah, so glad that you came on. And she will be making a return at some point.
I will. Thank you guys for having me. I enjoyed talking. And like the atmosphere, we are like in a random room, but it's so
Yeah,
comfy.
it's been a
So
long
it's
day.
so good. And we got here after church. That's why we're all dressed up. But I had a great time. It was
Yes,
really
me
good.
too. I feel like I also got to learn a lot about you, which is really great.
Yay.
Smash that like button!